we're presenting the hand signals that the Toronto Improvisers Orchestra is using. They're basically gotten from the London Improvisers Orchestra, which is basically a subset of Butch Morris's hand signals that they were first introduced to about 12 or 13 years ago. The reason we decided to use these was that they're pretty ubiquitous across Europe. I'm not sure about North America, but certainly in Europe. And just thought it would be interesting for any of our members to, should they go to Europe, that they could easily sit in with any of these orchestras and not feel sort of out of the picture as far as knowing what was going on. So the way we normally do this is what a conductor would do is usually they would end up pointing at people depending on the instruments you wanted to start with or play or what have you. And another method of sort of establishing a group of musicians is to use sort of a circle. If it's a group, for instance, if you had a string group or a brass group or something and you wanted to utilize them. And so after the pointing, normally what we do is use this signal, which is get ready. And after that, we have a situation where then you would get the definitive hand signal. So one of the most primary hand signal is this, which is play a sustained note. So if I had circled the brass section and I would say get ready, and I would show them this, and if I wanted it to be very loud, we have a loud and soft hand signal, which is this is loud, and as it gets quieter and quieter, so it's like a decrescendo in this case. Or you could just say you want it very quiet, or you could go this way as well, as far as you know, that you want whatever they play, the sustained notes that they play, to be very, very quiet. So okay, we have this situation. So I show them the hand, and that would initiate basically the start of the note. Now, if I wanted to cut them off, there's several ways of cutting them off. You could do this, you could do a stop, or some people do this. These are different ways of stopping. It's pretty, usually musicians will understand these types of signals. Now, so we have a sustained note. The next thing we have is a staccato note, which is denoted with a fist. So you could do the same thing with, you know, you would point at musicians, you'd say, get ready, here's staccato notes. And they would hopefully all play that together. And so you could kind of continue with that if you wanted to, you know, a little rhythmic thing where they all play staccato. There's also a signal that's related to those two, is if you have a baton that's held up vertically and you have you use the sustained note hand signal, what this is used for is to pass through the orchestra, and as you pass, those people are to play a sustained note in this case, or if it had been a fist, they would play a staccato note. And as you would go back, they would pick something else. First, it's another note to play. Now, there's also, for sforzando, while we're in this situation, sforzando is this, but with a fist. So basically that means a note that's loud at the beginning, but it trails off, so that you get a loud attack, but a softer end to the note. There are also there is a hand signal, excuse me, for unvoiced sounds, and it is that. In that sense, what you would do is you would cover your mouth, and whoever you pointed to, they would essentially do unvoiced sounds on their instruments. For instance, I don't know, key clicks on a saxophone. I don't know, piano could be playing something inside the piano, knocking on the piano, whatever, just something of that sort. So the musicians would choose what they thought would be appropriate at that time. So the other thing that we might look at is we looked at this earlier, which was volume. So, but here's a particular situation where we could group one section, and you get them ready, and you want them to play sustained notes. So you start them off, and you might. So while they're playing, you might grab another group, and you could say, okay, I want basically what I'd like are some unvoiced sounds from you, but I want them to be, at this point, very quiet. And then you might turn to the people that are playing the sustained notes, and you might want to bring them down. And then you go back to the other unvoiced section, and you might want to bring them up in level, and essentially get rid of the sustained notes entirely at that point, if that's what you're hearing. Let me just have a look.
Okay, so the last thing you talked about was cutting off one group and having another group playing some sounds.
Yes.
So if you could just say,
I could for crossfade.
No, yeah, but just say to continue or something.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's going to be a cut. It's going to be an obvious.
Right. All right. Great. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. To continue, so we have these two groups that we initiated originally, and for instance, if they were both playing, then there is a signal called a crossfade, which basically what it does is it allows the conductor to crossfade between the two groups, so that I don't know, it's almost like an old stereo effect, I guess, in the old days. But so there's that situation where if you initiate certain activity in one part of the orchestra and a different activity in another part of the orchestra, or if it's even similar, what you can do is you can crossfade between the two of them. The next hand signal we should look at is the issue of tempo and time. So this is the signal for time. It allows you the opportunity to conduct a tempo, but it also allows you the possibility of having different sections of the group play in a different tempo. For instance, I mean, if people can sort of handle that. Okay, so for instance, we would do this is tempo and go. Or and the next section would be. And whatever, yeah, whatever you decide.